rant away. What is your first protest song of choice?
Well, wait a minute. Hold it. I have to get ready here. Wait a minute. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. This was a mask made for me by. You can't hear me.
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Well, this was made for me by Krist Novoselic and his wife, bass player in Nirvana.
Yes.
So I thought I'd put that on for amusement. I don't know if you can see this.
Yes.
This is the Music Cares catalog for Bob Dylan when he was honored. And in it, on some page here, it says, "Congrats, Bob," quote, "with God on our side," end quote, "inspired me to resist the Vietnam draft. I'm forever grateful. John Densmore. P.S. Thanks for the tambourine lyrics for my memoir." So, with God on our side. I was, the beginning of that song goes, "Oh, my name." Oh, I can't sing. We'll confirm I'm a drummer. "Oh, my name, it ain't nothing. My age, it means less. Country I come from, called the Midwest. I was taught and brought up there, laws to abide, and that I lived in a country with God on its side." So, then my name was nothing. I wasn't a public figure, but my age, it didn't mean less. It meant a lot because I was draft age, and I could feel the draft, let me tell you. And I was listening to this song over and over, and it gave me the courage to go down to the draft board and act crazy. And I got a 1Y. And then the protest movement, thank God, monkey wrenched the whole system, so much so that they never, 1Y means they look you up in a year, and they never did. And that's really important. I don't, well, maybe now it's pretty exciting, but we, the people, stopped the Vietnam War. That's really important. It was real hard. But anyway, this song did that for me. Now, let's see. I'm looking at the next stanza. "History books tell it so well. Cavalry's charged, Indians fell. Cavalry's charged, Indians died. Oh, the country was young with God on our side." So about 4 years ago, I wrote a piece in Rolling Stone when Obama was a lame duck, and it was during the Standing Rock thing, and I was asking him to pardon Leonard Peltier, who has been in jail for 50 years or something, Native American elder. And I also asked him, wouldn't be a bad idea. I think that Rolling Stone made this the cover line. John Densmore asked Obama to forgive the Native Americans, for the original genocide. We got to admit this shit. We're founded on racism. And, once we look at it, then we begin to heal and figure out what to do. Right, Steve?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, it's interesting. I just premiered on Forbes yesterday a song by this guy, John Ellison. He wrote the song "She's Some Kind of Wonderful" in '67. You remember that song?
Yeah, vaguely.
Covered a lot. But he wrote this song. It's called "Wake Up Call, Black Like Me." And it's one of the most incendiary songs you'll ever, and it's just such a powerful statement coming from this guy who has been through so much. He talks about in '69, he was hit by a beer bottle and it was blind for a year. But of course, no one was ever charged. And his brother worked in a West Virginia hospital and had his throat slit by a white guy. And the white guy never went to jail for it, And it's, so people who, he's this guy who's 78 and he's written this stuff. He's never published it. And he's written this song that basically says, we die for the flag, but I don't know why,
Wow. Well, I'm old enough to remember the Watts riots, and nothing happened after that. I kind of could feel the 92 uprising would uprise. And then there was promises of something to happen after 92. There was some money, but I don't know what happened. It got embezzled or what the fuck, who knows? And so here we are now, and damn, feels like there may be going to be some change. It's, so it's pretty inspiring. I'm wearing a Nike t-shirt. I'm not a sports dude. I don't wear sports clothes, but when Colin Kaepernick took the knee and Nike backed him up, I went down to Nike and bought a t-shirt, and it's inspiring that he got so much shit, just like the athletes in the Olympics that did this, and now it's cool. Everybody's taking the knee. Well, okay, that's inspiring to me. It's interesting. I'm going to throw this in. When Van Jones, the CNN commentator, he was Obama's green czar, and Van and I were talking about. I suggested to him that the Doors, and Ray was still alive, and he was up for this, that the Doors would, my whole thing was not selling songs for commercials, changing the lyrics to sell deodorant. And I said to Van, how about that the Doors give Break On Through to America for free as the theme song for green, it went to Break On Through to a Greener Environment. We chased our pleasures here, show oil wells, dug our treasures there. Can you still recall the time we cried, break on through to the other side? And then shots of solar panels and windmills. And Van and Obama were like, oh my God, this is really cool. And then Van got taken out by some right-wing asshole. I can't think of his name. We don't want to think of his name. Because Van was in a progressive group in Oakland before he got started. And that whole thing fell in the toilet. But Break On Through, certainly it means an inner journey, but it could have been a very political green outer journey. So that.
Well, it's interesting because, I've always said for as long as I can remember, that to me, my favorite political songwriter of all time was John Lennon, because he made the personal and the political so intertwined. He wrote these songs like A Working Class Hero or A Mother, or these songs that were so, as much as they were about social causes, you could relate to them on a very personal level. So it's interesting that you say a song like Break On Through could have been it's an inner journey, but it absolutely could be a political. And I think most great songs, can have that double entendre.
Very cool that you mentioned that, because my second memoir, The Doors Unhinged, which was about my difficult struggles. Wait a minute, I'm confused. I'm 75. Maybe it was I have two self-centered memoirs. Maybe it was the first one. One of them, it was the first one, I dedicated to John Lennon and said because he would show his personal life as well as his creative life, it gave me the courage to write about that in my memoir, because celebrities have to go to the bathroom and get divorced like everybody else. I have a new book coming out in the fall, The Seekers, Meetings with Remarkable Musicians. And John Lennon was just so friggin' courageous. It just astounds me. I lost my train of thought. What the fuck was I going to say? Something about courage. All right, it'll come back. We'll cut this.
It's all good. But we were talking about Lennon's courage. Now, did you meet John? Is he in the book? Or because we've talked about this book a lot. I'm very excited for this book.
No, he's not in this book.
Did you ever meet John, though?
Yeah, for a second at the Toronto Peace Festival. He was playing with Yoko and Klaus Voormann and Clapton, and but we didn't have time to rap at all. But yeah, what a great guy. Hey, let's go back to this Dylan thing. Let's see. The First World War, boys, it came and it went. The reason for fighting I never did get, but I learned to accept it with pride. For you don't count the dead when God's on your side. Yeah, so I think by October, we're going to have 30,000 more deaths from the virus. But Trump doesn't count them. We're not counting them, you know. When God's on your side, you know, come to Tulsa and share water drops, you know. All right, I'm getting on the soapbox, but what can I say?
Well, yeah, that's what we're saying. I mean, it's you know, I mean, when he says things like, okay, if you wear a mask, then people who don't wear masks are doing it or people who wear masks are doing it because they don't support me. No, that's the problem, is you're literally killing your followers. Because it's going to make people there be afraid to wear a mask, because whether they want to or not, it's going to look like, you know, they're either anti-Trump or they're bowing to public pressure. Yeah, well,
Don't follow leaders, watch your parking meters. What can I say? A writer and friend of mine, mythologist Michael Mead, said that everybody gets older, but not everybody gets elder. And an elder is someone who looks after the youth, who worries about several generations ahead. And, our guy's looking after himself, isn't he? What can I say? I'm from the Vietnam generation, and actually, I wanted to read you something there was an anthology I got a thing in called Unknown Soldiers for Peace. Ray Bradbury was in it. I feel pretty proud about that. So I want to read you a little something here. I can see it. Let's have a war, jack up the Dow Jones. Let's have a war. So chanted the punk group Fear. Remember that?
No. I remember the band Fear, but I don't remember that.
Yeah. So anyway, I wrote, as a veteran of the Vietnam protests, I'm very sensitive to Voltaire's statement, "It is dangerous to be right when the government is wrong." We were so sabotaged by our leaders back then that our entire generation was scarred. It's almost like we're all Vietnam vets. I mean, no disrespect to those who served, who certainly paid the bigger price, but maybe the entire country had paid the biggest price by not learning the lessons of Vietnam. Well, the one thing the government learned was not to show the bodies coming back for future wars. But if we had really figured out that Vietnam was the first one of meddling, then we might not have gotten into Afghanistan and Iraq and all that crap. But, before we started this podcast, you and Adam, your producer, are talking about people who don't seem to get it. Here's a little more about that kind of thing. Another excerpt from this book. It's so strange that the late Senator John McCain was in country and didn't come home with a more anti-war stance. In Jim Morrison's Prayer for America, he wrote, "Have we forgotten the lessons of the ancient war?" Apparently, Vietnam was so painful for McCain that he rendered it too ancient and forgot about it. Even Jim had the courage to look his father in the eye with the rest of the poem and say, "Do you know we are being led to slaughters by placid admirals?" Jim's dad was an admiral in the Navy. He was in the Gulf of Tonkin while we were writing Unknown Soldier, which we should talk about. And sorry. Do you know we were being led to slaughters by placid admirals, and that fat, slow generals are getting obscene on young blood? McCain didn't want to admit it, like the former Secretary of Defense, Robert McNamara, who sent him to Nam, and that it was a terrible wrong. And now we have Iraq, and from that, the entire region is up in flames. So that's it, man. We need honesty from leaders, and then we'll get somewhere. I was so proud of Jim. In his original bio, this chasm between for and against the Vietnam War is the same as this Trump thing. It's a deep chasm. And Jim said in his original bio that his parents were deceased, which they were not. Now that's cutting the umbilical cord. So he wrote this song. He didn't name Vietnam particularly, but breakfast where the news is read, television children fed, unborn living dead, a bullet strikes the helmet's head. It's all over for the unknown soldier. Whoa. I mean, none of our songs were overtly political like that one, but the times were so bad. Like now, change was forced. And we got it to number 24, which everybody said was on Billboard charts, which was a miracle because the Ballad of the Green Berets, a pro-war song, was number 1. Change is slow, but, I'll fight for it whether it happens or not. I mean, what else are you going to do,
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's go back to Bob Dylan. I'm loving this song as a template for our whole interview. I learned to hate the Russians, and through my whole life, if another war comes, then it's them we must fight. Oh, wait a minute. Let me interject, Steve. Maybe this will help the Donald. Russia is a nuclear power, Donald. It just came out in Bolton's book that he wasn't sure about that. So it's true. And actually, another article I wrote about 3 years ago in the Huffington Post was about Obama visiting Hiroshima. And a conversation between me and my kids came from it. It was really interesting. I'm going to read you a little something from that. I said to my kids, my parents' generation, some people in my parents' generation think that, we just had to bomb those 2 cities, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, because it saved American lives and stopped the war. And my son, 27-year-old, 26 at the time maybe, said to me, Dad, that's insane. That's just insane. And so I wrote a thing about it, and here it is. I did some research, and an expert on peace resistance said this. The facts are very disturbing. The discussion of whether or not Hiroshima was necessary is moot. What is important is that today's nukes are 6 to 7 times more powerful than back in 1945. And for years I've heard that computers that run these nukes the system is old and outdated. So a mistake would, make a nuclear winter. And then I wrote, I'm sure Obama is depressed about how much resistance he got from the Republican Congress in trying to defuse the arsenal. Receiving the Nobel Peace Prize and then not being able to deliver has to be very frustrating. The other comment from the Peace Research Group expert that stuck was chilling. if Obama could, at the very least, get the hair trigger rule that is in effect taken off, the chance of an accident would be lessened. Hair trigger, oh God, the Republican nominee for the next president, we know who that is now, seems to me to have a hair trigger without me even knowing our missile system had one in the first place. My kids are right. We're insane. The Bob Dylan lyric, which he wrote 50 years ago, has come true. But now we got weapons of chemical dust. If fire them we're forced to, then fire them we must. One push of the button, a shot the world wide. You'd never ask questions when God's on your side. And then, of course, Dylan's prophetic conclusion, if God's on our side, he'll stop the next war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. I'm not that familiar with that song. I mean, I'm a Dylan fan, but that's not, and it's such an interesting thing though. And this has to me been my favorite thing about doing this show thus far is that, great songs have a universality and they're applicable to all times. And it's amazing how, that song that was written in the 60s, still that last line still has such a depth and meaning now. And it's so interesting, though. You look at a Springsteen song like Born in the USA and how that was misinterpreted. Yeah. And it's amazing how you could see how the Republican part or the right wing could totally take that Dylan line and twist it for their side.
Well, I don't want to think about that. God damn it.
Well, only because of the idea of this idea of God being on America's side, as if we're infallible. Yes. And,
That's good. Yeah. Well, there's another Dylan song, The Lonesome Death of Hattie Carroll, which same thing. It's about a rich guy having a servant whom he kills with his cane just on a lark, and take the rag away from your face. Now's not the time for your tears. Is the refrain, and then when the judge gives the guy only 6 months for murder, now you who philosophize disgrace, criticize all fears, bury the rag in your face. Now's the time for your tears. That's when the George Floyd verdict first came down, and a couple of the guys weren't even accused. That's why we have all this unrest, and it's perfectly nailed in a song Bob Dylan wrote in 1964.
Yeah.
But, the arc of justice, what is that MLK line? It's slow, but it's bending, goddammit.
Cool.
Just an excerpt of here's what's that thing? It's off Oh Mercy. Daniel Lenoir produced, really great. License to Kill, I think it's titled. Now they take him and they teach him and they groom him for life and they set him on a path where he's bound to get ill. Then they bury him with stars, sell his body like they do used cars. But there's a woman on my block. She just sit there facing the hill. She say, who's going to take away his license to kill? Now he's hell-bent for destruction. He's afraid and confused, and his brain has been mismanaged with great skill. All he believes are his eyes. His eyes just tell him lies. But there's a woman on my block sitting there in a cold chill. She say, who's going to take away his license to kill? Finally, he worships at an altar of a stagnant pool. When he sees his reflection, he's fulfilled. Oh, man is opposed to fair play. He wants it all. He wants it his way. There's a woman on my block. She just sits there as the night grows still. Who's going to take away his license to kill? Wow. That guy's a fucking poet.
Well, there's a reason that he's the first musician ever to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. So,
yeah. Dylan hates the idea of being labeled a protest folk singer, but he did it so good. And he was very upset by the George Floyd thing in a recent interview. Sorry, Bob. I mean, what he doesn't like, of course, is that because he did it so good, people look to him to have answers. And he doesn't want to have the answers. He just wants to do his art, to the point of he will sabotage his art practically and do a Victoria's Secret commercial because he doesn't want you to put him in a box. And, I was annoyed that he did that. But then again, the guy is such a giant that he's fed me so much, helped me get out of the army. So, I love him.
Well, what's the Dylan one you want to wrap up on?
All right. It's the chimes of freedom flashing. And it just,
thank you.
Just staggering. I mean, he and his girlfriend stumble into a little door front during a storm, and he translates all the thunder and lightning to be tolling for all the unfortunate folks. So here it goes. All right. Far between sundown's finish and midnight's broken toll, we ducked inside the doorway, thunder crashing, as majestic bells of bolts struck shadows in the sounds, seeming to be the chimes of freedom flashing. Flashing for the warrior whose strength is not to fight. Oh, love it. That's a new thought. Flashing for the refugees on the unarmed road of flight, immigrants, and each and every underdog soldier in the night as we gaze upon the chimes of freedom flashing. You think about Iraqi vets, underdog soldiers who've got a high suicide rate now because, if you're not fighting Hitler, which is a pretty clear enemy, then taking someone else's life, even if it is a clear enemy, taking someone else's life, it's a little bit cannibalistic. They're fellow human beings, man. It's a tough one. In the city's melted furnace, unexpectedly we watched with faces hidden while the walls were tightening, as the echoes of the wedding bells before the blowing rain dissolved into the bells of lightning. Tolling for the rebel, tolling for the rake, tolling for the luckless, the abandoned and forsake, tolling for the outcast burning constantly at stake. And we gazed upon the chimes of freedom flashing. Sinead O'Connor burning constantly at the stake, right? St. Joan, St. Sinead. What a line. Through the mad mystic hammering of the wild ripping hail, the sky cracked its palms in naked wonder. That the clanging of the church bells blew far into the breeze, leaving only bells of lightning and thunder, striking for the gentle, striking for the kind, striking for the guardians, protectors of the mind, and the painter far behind his rightful time, we gazed upon the chimes of freedom flashing. Through the wild cathedral evening, the rain raveled its tales for disrobed, faceless forms of no position, tolling for the tongues with no place to bring their thoughts, all down in taken for granted situation, tolling for the deaf and blind, tolling for the mute, tolling for the mistreated, mateless mother, the mistitled prostitute, for the misdemeanor outlaw chastened and cheated by pursuit, and for each unharmful, gentle soul misplaced inside a jail. Hello. BLM, BLM. We gazed upon the chimes of freedom flashing. Last stanza, starry-eyed and laughing as I recall when we were caught, trapped by no track of hours, for they hang suspended as we listened one last time and we watched with one last look, spellbound and swallowed till the tolling ended. Tolling for the aching ones whose wounds cannot be nursed, for the countless confused, accused, misused, strung out ones and worse, and for every hung-up person in the whole wide universe, we gazed on the chimes of freedom flashing. Holy shit. I mean, I'm a writer. I've written several books and many. If I could write one of those lines, I'd be happy. So thanks for this Songs of Change. It's got the Patti Smith line?
People have the power, yep.
Yep. Thanks for this platform, Steve. It's perfect, topical. I'm a drummer. It's timely.